Before this night ends, your soulmate will do something you never expected. Don't skip, because what is building inside them right now, in this very moment, as the hours of this evening move quietly toward midnight, is not something they planned and not something anyone around them saw coming. It has been building for longer than tonight. But tonight is when it finally breaks through every wall they built around it and becomes something real. Stay with this, because the night is not over yet. The evening started ordinarily enough. That is what makes what is coming so significant. There was no dramatic beginning to this night. No argument, no confrontation, no moment of obvious crisis that announced itself clearly and demanded an immediate response. Your soulmate moved through the early hours of this evening the way they have moved through most evenings recently. Carefully. Quietly. With the practiced efficiency of someone who has become skilled at filling time in ways that prevent too much stillness from accumulating. Stillness is dangerous for them right now. They have known this for weeks. Because stillness is where you live. In the quiet spaces between tasks and noise and the deliberate business of a life being managed rather than fully felt. You arrive in the stillness without warning and without invitation and without any apparent concern for how inconvenient your presence is. Don't skip, because something huge is waiting for you. Tonight the stillness arrived anyway. Despite everything they did to prevent it. It came after the noise of the early evening faded. After the last distraction lost its ability to distract. After the room grew quiet in the particular way that rooms grow quiet late at night when the rest of the world has moved toward sleep and a person is left alone with whatever they have been successfully avoiding since morning. Your soulmate sat down. And the stillness sat down with them. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. For a while they simply existed inside it. Not peacefully. With the particular discomfort of someone who knows something important is approaching and cannot identify exactly when it will arrive or what form it will take when it does. They reached for their phone. Put it back down. Reached for it again. Opened an app, closed it, opened another, closed that one too. Nothing available on that screen was capable of doing what they needed it to do tonight, which was to make the feeling that had settled into the room feel less large and less urgent and less impossible to continue ignoring. Nothing worked. Because some feelings have reached a point where they are simply no longer ignorable. And what your soulmate has been carrying about you has reached exactly that point. Don't skip, because this is where the night begins to shift. They thought about the last time things between you felt uncomplicated. They do this sometimes, in unguarded moments, pulling that memory out carefully the way someone handles something they value and are afraid of damaging. They examined it tonight with the particular attention of someone who has been away from something important for too long and is only now allowing themselves to fully look at what the distance has cost. What they saw when they looked honestly was not what they had been telling themselves they would see. They had convinced themselves, over the weeks and months of distance, that the memory had softened. That time had done what time is supposed to do and rounded the edges of something sharp into something more manageable. That the feeling attached to that memory had become smaller through absence the way feelings are expected to become smaller through absence. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. None of that was true. The memory was exactly as vivid as it had always been. The feeling attached to it was exactly as present. And the specific quality of what had existed between you, that particular combination of ease and depth and recognition that does not arrive in ordinary connections, was as clear to them tonight as it had been the first time they understood what it was. Distance had not diminished it. Time had not softened it. Silence had not resolved it. It had simply waited. Patient and inconvenient and entirely unwilling to become something easier. Don't skip, because something huge is waiting for you. That realization settled into the room with them and changed the quality of the evening entirely. Because understanding that something has not faded the way you needed it to fade is not a comfortable discovery. It removes the possibility of the story where everything resolves itself quietly without anyone having to do anything difficult. It removes the comfortable version where time does all the necessary work and both people emerge on the other side of the silence into separate lives that have healed cleanly. Your soulmate looked at that removed possibility tonight and felt something they had not allowed themselves to feel in a very long time. Grief. Real and specific and completely honest. Not the manageable sadness of missing someone in a general way. The particular grief of understanding that something rare existed and that fear made choices that prevented it from becoming what it could have been. Their eyes became wet. They did not stop it. There was nobody in the room to perform composure for, and the performance had become exhausting anyway. Stay with this, because what happened after the grief is the part that changes everything. They sat with it for a while. The grief, the honesty, the undeniable reality of what they still felt and had always felt and had spent so much energy pretending was something other than what it was. They sat with all of it without reaching for a distraction or constructing an argument against it or doing any of the things they had become so skilled at doing every previous time this feeling had surfaced with this kind of force. They simply felt it. And something unexpected happened inside that feeling. Don't skip, because something huge is waiting for you. Beneath the grief, beneath the weight of everything that had been lost to fear and silence and poorly timed decisions, there was something else. Something small and stubborn and completely unwilling to be extinguished regardless of how much time had passed or how much distance had accumulated or how many practical reasons existed for it to have given up by now. Hope. Not the desperate kind. Not the kind that grasps and demands and cannot survive contact with reality. The quieter kind. The kind that exists because something genuine lives beneath it and genuine things are extraordinarily difficult to fully destroy even when a person tries very hard to do exactly that. Your soulmate recognized it tonight. Sitting in the stillness of this evening with grief still present and honesty finally allowed and the practiced performance of okayness finally set aside. They recognized it and they did not argue against it the way they had argued against it every previous time it surfaced. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Instead they followed it. Carefully. The way someone follows a faint light in a space that has been dark for a long time. Not rushing. Not certain of where it leads. But following. Because the alternative was remaining in the dark and they had been in the dark long enough to understand that no amount of time spent there makes it more comfortable. They picked up their phone again. This time they did not open an app designed to distract. They opened something else. Something they had not opened in a very long time. Something that still held your name at the top of the screen and a history of conversations that stopped at a specific point in the past and had not continued since. They read back through it. All of it. Don't skip, because something huge is waiting for you. They had not done this before. They had avoided it deliberately, with the specific avoidance of someone who understands that certain things will undo carefully constructed emotional management the moment they are encountered directly. Reading back through the history of what had existed between you was exactly that kind of thing. It undid everything. Not destructively. The way a knot is undone. The way something that has been pulled tight and held in place through sustained effort is finally released and allowed to return to its natural state. Your soulmate read through every exchange and felt the specific texture of what had existed between you with a completeness and an immediacy that no amount of deliberate distance had managed to alter. This was real. It had always been real. And they had spent months pretending otherwise because real things are terrifying to lose, and they had been more afraid of losing it than they had been brave enough to fight for it. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. They put the phone down after the last message. The one from you. The one that had gone unanswered. They had read it more times than they would ever admit to anyone. But reading it tonight, after the grief and the honesty and the quiet stubborn hope, it landed differently than it ever had before. It landed as a question that still deserved an answer. Don't skip, because this is the moment everything in this night becomes about what happens next. Your soulmate sat with that understanding for a long time. The understanding that a question had been asked and left unanswered not because the answer did not exist but because the person holding the answer had been too afraid to offer it. That the silence they had maintained was not a neutral act. That silence in response to something genuine is always its own kind of statement, and the statement it makes is never the one the person staying silent intends. They had never intended to say they did not care. But silence had said it anyway. And you had been left to hear it without the context that would have changed what it meant entirely. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. That thought did not sit comfortably. It was not supposed to sit comfortably. Some truths are only useful if they create enough discomfort to produce movement. And this one produced exactly that. Your soulmate felt something shift inside them tonight that has not shifted in a very long time. A direction change. Small but real and completely unlike the false starts that had preceded it on previous nights when the feeling had surfaced and then been successfully managed back into silence. This was different. This felt like the last time. Not the last time they would feel this. The last time they would feel it without doing anything about it. Don't skip, because something huge is waiting for you. They opened a new message. Not a reply to the old conversation. Something new. A beginning rather than a continuation. Because some things cannot be continued from where they stopped. They have to begin again from the truth of the present moment rather than attempting to resurrect a thread that was dropped too long ago. They began to write. Not carefully. Not with the calculated phrasing of someone managing an outcome. With the particular directness of someone who has exhausted every alternative to honesty and arrived at it finally not as a strategy but as the only remaining option. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. They wrote about tonight. About the stillness and the grief and the memory they had been handling carefully for months. About the hope they had been arguing against and had finally stopped arguing against. About the question that still deserved an answer and the answer that had always existed and had only been withheld by fear pretending to be consideration. They wrote that they were sorry for the silence. Not performatively. with the specific and genuine regret of someone who understands exactly what the silence communicated and exactly how much it was never what they meant. They wrote that the feeling had not changed. Through everything. Through all of it. Through every practical reason, it should have resolved itself into something smaller and more manageable. It had not changed. And they were done pretending that it had. Don't skip, because something huge is waiting for you. The message sat on the screen. Complete. Honest. More vulnerable than anything they had allowed themselves to offer in longer than they could clearly remember. They read it once. Their heart was loud in their chest. Their hands were not entirely steady. They thought about you. About where you might be right now as this night moves toward its ending. About whether you were awake. About what you would feel when these words arrived. About whether the truth delivered tonight, after all the silence that preceded it, would be something you could receive, or whether the timing was simply too imperfect to allow it to land the way it was meant to. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. They decided that the timing belonged to the truth and not the other way around. That waiting for the perfect moment had already cost more than imperfect honesty ever could. That you deserved to know where they stood tonight, regardless of whether tonight was the night anyone would have chosen for this. They pressed send. The message left their hands and entered the space between you. That space which has held so much silence for so long and is now holding something entirely different. Something honest and imperfect and real in the specific way that only things offered without calculation can be real. Don't skip, because something huge is waiting for you. Before this night ends, your soulmate did something you never expected. They stopped waiting for courage to arrive fully formed and acted with the courage that was actually available. They stopped protecting themselves from vulnerability and chose honesty instead. They stopped letting fear make the decisions that love should have been making all along. And somewhere in the quiet of this night, while the world moves toward morning and the hours that seemed so ordinary at their beginning have become something entirely else, a message is traveling toward you that carries everything your soulmate has been holding in silence. Stay till the end. Because the night is not over. And neither is this. Something huge was waiting for you. Now it has arrived.